Hey, happy days. So, hi everyone, welcome to tonight's webinar. For those that don't know me, I'm Jerry Moss of JK9 Mantrailing, and we're going to be looking at enhancing mantrailing performance through your effective use of scent articles, basically. Quick intro about me. I'm a qualified dog trainer. I've been running a dog training business for the last 10 years or so. And I've done training and behaviour work, used to run lots of group classes and things like that. But since finding Mantrailing, I started Mantrailing in 2018, 2019, and then since then became an instructor with Mantrailing Global, qualified Ollie, my older GSP, who's not in that picture. Operationally, I volunteer for my local search and rescue team. This one's Tank, my more recent addition. Basically, since finding Mantrailing, I've become a full-time Mantrailing instructor, and that's my job. That's all I do. And why wouldn't you if you could, hey? So yeah, I've worked as a head instructor for Mantrailing Global, done various things, and I run JK9 Mantrailing. I'm hoping I trail 2 GSPs. Ollie's retired now, he's just a grumpy old man, and Tank is not quite operationally ready because he's very adolescent. And then the other dog I work is a Don't Give a Shih Tzu, which was a whole different experience. So she's my little rescue cross. And it's been quite interesting getting her into Mantrailing because she's not the most motivated. So quite a different experience in terms of that. Diane, over to you.
Aha. So, evening, everyone. Some of you will know me, some of you won't. So I might be a new face to some of you. So I'm Diane. I've been a dog trainer, predominantly pet dog trainer, for 17 years. I started Mantrailing with my own dogs back in 2019. And then I became a Mantrailing Global instructor in 2020. I run a company in Southwest London and Surrey called Superhounds, and I still do lots of pet stuff, one-to-ones, classes, but I'm kind of specialise a bit more in scent-based training sessions, really. Mantrailing, scent detection, truffle hunting, that type of stuff. I'm the UK Kong ambassador, which is why you'll see loads of Kong stuff behind me. And I'm also a dog trainer and behaviourist for a dog food company called Different Dog. And we've got a lovely discount code for anyone interested for that, just specifically for our Mad About Mantrailing group. I trail my own dogs. So some of you in the picture, there's Louis. Both my dogs are bull breeds. I've got Louis and Billy. Some of you will have seen them both trailing. They're both truffle hunters. And Billy, who is my other show Staffordshire Bull Terrier, also works with me for Wildlife Aid, a rescue charity in Leatherhead, as a conservation tracking dog. So if we get foxes that come in, vixens at the moment, because they've all got cubs, they've all got young fox pups. If they come in, if they've been hit by a car, they're injured, or if they're found sadly deceased and they're lactating, then I'll bring Billy out, and Billy will go to the place where the fox is found, and Billy will back trail the fox to the den, so that basically we can retrieve the fox cubs, so they don't die a very horrible, very painful death. So it's more of a conservation type tracking style that we do for that. But yeah, that's kind of me in a nutshell. I am going to be running lost dog tracking later on in the year with Claire Brown from the North K9 Lost Dog Tracking. So that's kind of what I do now. With my own dogs, it's a lot more scent-based stuff, but I still do some of the pet stuff in Southwest London. So that's kind of me, really. So going back to the webinar. So the aim of the webinar is really just to give you an overview of all things scent article related. And we'll be looking into what other people say about them. And some of the science and the data behind it all. Our personal views, and we have got some personal views in here, they're not representative of any specific trailing body or organisation. So some of it is our own personal views and our own personal opinions. So we don't take that from other organisations.
Good. So, cracking on then, scent articles play a crucial role in mantrailing, as they serve as the carriers of the unique scent signature of your missing person or trail layer. And understanding how those scent articles hold and retain that scent and also release that scent will help us to optimize using them and storing them. Scent articles are essential training aids when mantrailing. You can't mantrail without a scent article. They enable that scent recognition and discrimination, and reinforcing the connection between that scent article and the trail is going to really help you throughout your trailing. And interestingly, Jeff Shetler says that one of the subjects that separates trailing from tracking is the use of a scent article. So, you know, within mantrailing, that scent article's pretty much essential, isn't it? We can't, no scent article, no trailing.
And then if we look at, really just to start off with, what is a scent article? A scent article is an item that retains a person's scent. So here you can see me back in the old days when I was nice and skinny, with my coffee cup on the beach in Cornwall, with my hands over it, keeping my hands warm, breathing over it. My coat is on it, my bag's on it, so there's lots of contact there. Kevin Cocker states that a scent article can be defined as something that has the scent of the subject you are looking for on it. And examples can be clothing, personal items, beddings, cups, as you can see in the picture. And we both really love Lorna Irish's quote that every contact leaves a trace. And I think when you really think about it, it really makes you appreciate that literally anything can be a scent article. But when choosing an item to use, creating one, there may be some choices that are better than others. And we're going to go through different scent articles, the whys and the whys and the wherefores as to how you can optimize your trailing. So then if we look at, we've got a couple of photos up here. If we look at our scent article selection, as I said, some articles are better, that will hold the scent better than others. So when considering what you're going to use, it's important to consider materials, and we'll talk about porosity a little bit later. Also volume, is it a large item? Is there a big area of it? Accessibility and scent absorption. You might have multiple options, and you also may have novel items if you're on a theme trailing day. So things that you really want to consider is how well the item's going to hold someone's scent. And in terms of this, as I said, we're thinking about the porosity of the material and also the contact time. So if you think about clothing and soft materials, they're often preferred because of their odor retaining properties. We can also question how likely is the item to be contaminated. Personal items aren't always just an individual's. Bedding may have the scent of two people. Certain shoes might be left at the back door. For example, if my Crocs are by the back door, and if I'm just going to nip the dogs out into the garden or put the bins out, sometimes if Craig comes out by the half, he'll just whip my Crocs on just to go and chuck the bins out. So that can also hold. They can also actually have the scent from two different people or multiple people if you've got families living in the house. So the important thing when choosing your scent article is not to just assume that it just has the scent of one person on it. And equally, you might want to think about what part of the body the scent article has come from. And Joey's going to go over things like thermal boundaries and things like that in the next slide. So it is important to really carefully consider your scent article.
Yep. So in his book, 2 Weeks to Operational Tracking, Jeff Shetler lists common scent articles. He kind of goes through the clothing as hats, shirts, shoes, trousers, jackets, gloves, socks, underwear, so all those soft materials. He says mobile phone, money, hairbrush, toothbrush, cigarettes, butts and vehicle, so windowsills, car doors and car seats. What a lot of these items have in common is that they're very personal items to an individual. But as Diane's already said, there are times that you need to be really careful about that and consider what that really means. So quite often, lots of people do choose hairbrushes and they really like hairbrushes. toothbrushes you generally don't share with someone, not as much as other items. You know, it's usual that a toothbrush might stay just as an individual's. But for a hairbrush, for example, sometimes families might share, or even if you've got like a kid, the mum might do the kid's hair. So the mum's holding the hairbrush, but is brushing the kids. But you can't then distinguish which scent the dog is going to be picking up out of those two. So that would create contamination. That scent article would be contaminated, and you can't be certain 100% what the dog is picking up from that and whether they're getting a good odour sample from it.
Yeah, and in his book, How to Train a Police Bloodhound, Kevin Cocker says that there's 2 categories of scent articles. And the first category contains the good scent article, which would be anything that contains only the scent of the person that you're seeking. And this article will allow the dog to know for certain whose scent to follow. And then the second category that he mentions contains the bad scent article, which would be something that doesn't have the scent of the person that you seek or has been contaminated with the scent of someone other than that person. So using a bad scent article can result in the dog not knowing precisely who you want it to follow, and then it's a little bit hit and miss.
So the contamination is referred to could come from several areas. We could have residual sources such as scent falling into the environment with scent dropping from someone else that's landing onto your scent article and contaminating it that way. You could have transfer scent. So, for example, you've got a laundry basket and you've decided you're going to use an item of clothing that belongs to the person you know, but it's been in contact with other items within that laundry basket that don't belong to the individual you're looking for. Or you might have direct contamination where, for example, someone else has passed you the scent article and touched it and accidentally contaminated it that way. So you've got various ways that scent articles can get contaminated.
And in Kevin's book, he also discusses how people, and I do see, I'm sure we've all seen this and we see it quite regularly, but people can't help but touch things, and most of the time they don't even know that they've touched it. They've got no recollection that they've actually touched it anyway, and that can mean that contamination results very easily, and at times without due diligence, many handlers may be aware that contamination has actually even occurred. And so Kevin suggests that using the inside area of clothing, such as the hat, the bobble hat that we've got in the photo, is less likely to be contaminated when you present it to your dog. So if we just have a little look at thermal layers from people, which is going to influence what if we are choosing items of clothing, thinking about this can influence what we're going to choose in the future. So the human body temperature is around 37 degrees, and air around the skin is a lower temperature, so that the body is constantly heating this air around it. So you can see the little kind of day glow around the body, and the air heated by the skin rises, creating that thermal boundary layer around. I don't know, I'm quite old, but I remember was it Ready Eddie, the Ready Breck man, who had that nice thermal layer that we could see in the adverts. And so that it travels upwards at a flow rate of 50 to 80 litres per second. And this process is the same for everybody, regardless of height, weight, clothing, etc. It's exactly the same for every human being. And skin rafts are lifted from the body, and the heavier skin rafts will fall closer to the body, whereas the lighter ones will float further away. And I think that's why people prefer a scent sample from the upper part of the body, but we can also break down volatile organic compounds by the body area they're taken from. And this demonstrates huge variety, which I think, Jerry, you're going to go into.
Yeah, I've got the honour of that one. So this slide shows you a breakdown of different volatile organic compounds from various body parts. So this first section is from a hand, this second section is from hair, and this third one's from nails, and this fourth one's from saliva of someone's mouth. down here, there's all the chemical names of what the VOCs are. And we believe the dogs are following VOCs and bacteria possibly when they're following scent. That's what we think's happening, but we don't actually know which ones they're following. And there is research actually, which I haven't put in here. So sorry if you want the link, because I haven't put it in here. There is research to say that not necessarily the largest portion one, so not necessarily the blue one is what the dog is following, for example. It might be the pink for all we know. I don't know which ones, but anyway, that's slightly digressing. So what's interesting about this is the huge variety. This is all taken off one person. So the difference in variety of VOCs from around the body is really, really massive, even when they've been taken from higher up as well. We know the dogs are probably following VOCs and bacteria of individual person. There are 1,840 volatile organic compounds that have been identified on the human body. And I would suggest that probably there's a lot more that we haven't identified. So we still don't know which ones the dogs are following or using. There's a research paper by Mokasolski et al. That found that it was based on search and rescue dogs, area search and rescue dogs, but it found that dogs were more accurate at finding the humans, because they were area search, when they were able to follow human breath, when they basically did the experiment by taking out human breath, isolating it and kind of piping it out. They were breathing into something, so the breath wasn't there. The dogs struggled more often to find and locate those people. So we do think maybe the breath has quite a high, high relevance to the dog. But that was a super interesting one. So that's a research paper. This bottom link is a research paper to the article on human breath, and that is the link if you want it for this VOCs by body area. If anyone's interested, just grab yourselves a screenshot.
It just blows my brain when you look at things like that, like even different areas of the hand, different areas of the head, hair, things like that. It just absolutely blows my brain. And so you can see that scent articles play an absolutely vital, crucial role when we're mantrailing, because they serve as carriers of that unique scent signature of the trail layer. And I think really understanding how scent articles retain and release the human scent is essential for effectively utilising them when we are presenting them to the dog and using them in mantrailing. So in terms of the retention of human scent, we've got absorption. So scent articles such as clothing or personal items absorb human scent through direct contact with the individual's skin cells, sweat and body oils. These organic materials contain VOCs that are unique to each person, as we've seen in that previous diagram, and that creates that distinct scent profile. We've also got adsorption. In addition to absorption, add an ab, just to I can't get my A's and my B's out. So scent articles may adsorb human scent, and that refers to the process by which scent molecules adhere to the surface of the material without being absorbed into its structure. So that allows scent articles to capture and retain the scent particles from the surrounding environment, further enhancing that scent profile. And in terms of material composition, the material composition of the scent article plays a significant role in that retention. So the porous materials with a high surface area, such as things like cotton or wool, are going to be much more effective at absorbing and retaining that scent compared to non-porous materials like plastic or metal. And fabrics with natural fibres tend to hold the scent much better than synthetic materials.
Yeah, and I've got some nice research papers on that, funnily enough. I don't know if we put the link if we did these, but basically soft scent articles are easier for the dog to take scent from because they are more porous. The definition of porous is that something that has many pores or small holes in it, so liquid or air can pass through it, or in our case, get trapped within it. So for a more novice dog, we'd suggest using those more porous materials, so softer scent articles. But then also, if you're going to be progressing the dog on, you do want to be able to give them a variety of surfaces. Lots of people like teaching the dog to take scent from door handles, but obviously the metals in the door handle is significantly less porous than a cloth. So that will be more difficult for it to hold that scent in. The larger a scent article there is, the more scent it can hold. So that's fairly obvious. And it's a reason, so kind of don't go diddy on a very novice dog. Kind of give them a nice, reasonable size. So I always kind of go like hats and buffs are my preferred starter type articles. PA Prada did some research on what kind of materials are best for retaining scent. And they found that cotton gauze was significantly better, basically, than any of the polyester fabrics at retaining scent. And it could be preserved for longer. Just bear in mind that any material you put in contact with the human scent you're following will have an effect on it in some way. But basically it found that cotton gauze was the best at preserving scent over time. Now, for a lot of Mantrailing sessions that we do, it's not so important that the scent article has to be preserved over length of time. But if you were storing a scent article, for example, if you were concerned your old granny was going to was losing her mind a little bit and might go for a wander, and you wanted to store a scent article, then using cotton gauze would be the best material to store her scent sample on.
Cool. And we've also got environmental factors to think about when we're thinking about our scent articles, in terms of the human scent trapped within that scent article can be released or dispersed into the surrounding environment under certain conditions. And those factors that influence it would be things like temperature, humidity, air movement, and sunlight, because that can influence the rate at which the scent molecules are released from the material. And then we've got the actual VOCs themselves. So the volatile organic compounds present in human scent are prone to evaporation, especially, as we know, when they're exposed to heat and airflow. And as these compounds evaporate from the surface of the scent article, they become airborne, which can then also be detected by our dogs. So being able to read our dogs well is kind of crucial. And also we need to consider things like handling and disturbance. So the handling and disturbing of scent articles can also release the scent into the environment, which then becomes airborne. And when a scent article is moved, touched, or disturbed, it can agitate the scent molecules trapped within that material, causing them to become airborne and then dispersing the scent trail. And then so when we're coming to kind of the management of it all, we need to think about having really good proper handling practices. And one of those for me is proper storage. So storing the scent articles in airtight containers or sealed plastic bags, which you can see in a lot of the photos, can help preserve the scent integrity of the article by minimizing the exposure to external contaminants and environmental conditions. And the type of container that you use to present the scent article can also affect the vapor release. So if we're looking for freshness, using recently worn clothing or personal items as scent articles ensures that the scent more accurately matches that trail layer, as diet and health changes may affect a person's scent. And minimizing direct contact with scent articles from the person, from the instructor or the person that is laying the article down that isn't the trail layer, is really imperative. And so things like considering wearing gloves when handling them can prevent that cross-contamination and preserve the purity of that scent article within the bag.
So we've already said about environmental factors might have an impact on how a scent article works and performs. And this may affect what scent article you choose as well, because choosing a metal object that's had a really small amount of contact time with someone, that's been in a hot area, that scent's going to be disappearing and releasing, outgassing really quickly. off there. And so it would probably be a really poor choice to make. Whereas if you had the option of a porous material that you had not been in the sun, that would be more, and had a longer contact time with a person, that would be definitely a better choice of material to use. There is some research by Wang et al. That does about emission rates of VOCs, and it's basically, it kind of reiterates what we're saying, is that there's a positive correlation with the amount of energy, VOCs are positively correlated with the amount of energy of one's environment, and that energy is the pressure, the volume, the heat, basically. So anything that's putting, it's like, so an example would be if you were cooking something, a lot of odors are released and it's all outgassing everywhere and spreading around a lot, whereas stuff in the fridge is more contained, the scent's more contained within a small space. You don't smell your fridge from when you walk in your house door, usually, unless you've done something really wrong. Whereas if someone's cooking you dinner, you might be able to have a good whiff as you open the door. So basically, that's kind of saying what we were saying, that, you know, just be mindful about that. Contamination is impossible to stop, and in an open environment, if you're trying to collect a scent sample, say you were doing a car seat, trying to gather a scent sample from a car seat, that contamination will be occurring. You can't stop it from occurring. Jeff Shetler says this in his book, and he says that's about scent scene management and using a protection process. And the normal method of protecting your scent sample taking is with a tenting method. So there's pictures here where the gauze that you'd be collecting your scent sample on is placed on the item, be it a car seat, be it a worktop that someone's touched, or, you know, whatever it is that you're taking your scent sample from. And then we're either using tin foil or the food bag here to cover and tent over where that scent sample's being created. And the reason is that that's preventing other stuff to fall on top of it, basically. So it's just and it's also preventing outgassing from the area that you're taking the sample of. So it's going to just help you out a little bit. In Jeff Shetler's book, he mentions that a lot of handlers will use paper bags and plastic bags as containers for scent samples, and both of those are porous. So although loads of people like your plastic bags are still porous. I would suggest there's different quality, and food grade bags will have a lower porosity because they help prevent leaks. So the better, the stronger, the thicker the plastic, the less porous kind of, it's kind of the best one. So a nice, good quality food bag is really worth looking at if you want to kind of preserve that scent article a little bit better. In my opinion, a paper bag is going to allow that scent article to outgas, and it would also allow a lot of absorption to come into that scent article as well. So paper bags are quite porous and not really a good choice at all. I've not really seen people containing scent articles in paper bags myself. Maybe it's a US thing, but it's quite an interesting thought. So yeah, basically for me, a container for your scent article, the minimum level for me would be a high quality food grade bag. You can, once you're looking at other containers, you really are trying to consider your porosity of the material. And in this case, you do want those high, the materials that have really low porosity. So you're thinking about your metals and your glasses. So you like your glass Kilner jars and your metal containers that you can contain that scent within. So if you're just using it for trailing, then maybe a plastic bag's good enough because they're nice and practical. But if you're carting it around in the vehicle, going from a different location, popping it into something that's nice and clean, sterilised, and is less leakable in terms of allowing out gassing would be a lot better. So if you're storing in that scent article longer term, either a metal or glass container, like a kilner jar type product would be great. Obviously, the rubber seal on those is more porous than the glass, so there is always going to be some level about gassing whatever you do. It's unavoidable, unfortunately.
Yeah, and they do tend to be a bit bulky. I use them for when I get the fox odor from Wildlife Aid, when we take it out to the scene where they were found, and I'll bring it out, and it's always in a kilner jar, just to protect it and preserve it, really. But it is quite bulky, and it is quite cumbersome. So
you're not going to put it in your back pocket.
No, you're not, are you? Well, you wouldn't want, yeah. If it smells like that to us, like, can you imagine what it smells like to Billy? Oh. So best practices. So I really like, in again, referring back to Jeff Shetler, he has something that he calls the 3 Ps, which I really like. And I think sometimes we underestimate the value of the scent article and actually how we should be preserving it and presenting it. And so with his 3 Ps, the first one is production, which is locating an article and evaluating its quality. Then we've got protection, so we've got keeping the article as uncontaminated as possible. And then we've got the presentation, which is presenting the article to the dog in such a way that the trail or the track is connected directly to that scent article. And then, so if we want to have a look at scent article transfers, which we mentioned before in terms of with the tenting method, a scent article transfer involves transferring the scent from the original article, as in the car seat, to a sterile gauze pad or pads. You'll then have the original article containing the scent, and you'll have the sterile gauze pad scent articles. So this method is good if you're going to have a stationary object that's not transportable, such as a car seat, door handle, any kind of area in a vehicle. The transfer will contain less scent than the original article, but it will still contain plenty of work for the dog, plenty of scent for your dog to work from. So if the dog doesn't have access to that area or to that vehicle, or if it's a high seat, or if it's you're taking it from a sun visor or something like that, you can use a scent article transfer to get that scent. So when transferring,
there's other times you might use a scent article transfer, because, for example, if it was evidence or potentially evidence, you might not want the dog getting near the original item. So there's lots of reasons, other than it's impractical. There might be other preservation reasons why you might want to do a scent transfer.
Yeah, and danger, I suppose, depending on where it is. And so when you're, if for example, if we're going to use the car seat as an example, when you're transferring from a car seat, you want to place the sterile gauze pad so it's lying flat on the seat, so you've got a nice surface area. You then want to open your Ziploc bag. There are other plastic bags on the market, but you want to place it, as Jerry said in the previous slides, over the gauze, as if it's like a tent. So it's tent-like over the sterile gauze pad, and that will protect the gauze pad from residual scent floating in the air, and it will also allow you to collapse the bag over the gauze from the outside to gather the gauze pad when the transfer is complete, so that you can seal the bag without even touching the gauze pad. And so what we would recommend for your scent article collection case, or your kind of something, these are what we'd have in our kit, would include 4x4 sterile gauze pads, latex or rubber gloves, your Ziploc bags of various sizes, a permanent marker so that you can write on the bags, tongs, evidence and log sheets, spares, and tin foil depending on size, location, etc.
Yeah, so the times I use tin foil is when the Ziploc bag's impractical.
Yeah.
If you need something a bit bigger, you can normally bring out the tin foil and you can use that. Cool.
And then we were talking, when we were putting the presentation together, we were talking about various questions that kind of come up along the way. So we've just put some kind of troubleshooting things together. And so in this picture, we've got our lovely spaniel I had this with Billy quite a few months ago. Well, actually, it's quite a while ago now. It was with you, Joey, over in Bedfordshire. And one of the things that I found with him, even though he'd done a lot of it, Billy comes out of the van all hyper, all super keen as mustard. If anyone's seen him, you'll know the hashtag Be More Billy, because he just loves everything. But without thinking, it's really important to have that have a dog that is able to take scent from where you're asking it to take scent from, because quite often we can see in the picture here
contamination by the handler.
Contamination by the handler, but also what is the dog taking scent from her fingers? Is he actually taking scent from the scent article in the bag? Is he taking scent from the bag itself? Is he taking scent from all three? And what I found with Billy is Billy would come, if the article's here or in the bag, Billy would come off, he would sniff the top of the bag, and there was one kind of famous day where where Billy actually trailed Jerry. And Jerry was instructing. So that can happen. So in terms of troubleshooting, there's various different issues that can arise surrounding the scent article. And actually, if they're not able to actually properly take it from the area that you're asking, then it's going to be problematic.
Yeah. So I think with that one, we've worked on Billy targeting more accurately, and then a matter of testing what we've done. So it's nice that our trail layers are super helpful always, and they put their scent article in a nice bag for us, and then they hand us it over. But what is actually occurring in that situation is that the bag is also becoming a scent article in itself. Yes, it might have some contamination on the outside of the bag, but it makes it quite easy for the dogs to be less accurate because they're more likely to get it right. So occasionally just switching the scent article into a neutral bag or into your own bag, or switching it basically so that you'll know they're targeting the scent article rather than the bag itself. And just you can test that. So with what Diane was saying about the time that Billy managed to trail me, basically I laid a split trail for Billy. I'd touched the outside of the bag. There was a trail relating to the scent article, and it was actually the trail layer's bag, I think, on that occasion.
Yeah.
Just I touched the outside, and we thought something weird might be happening, so we just put a split trail in just to test what was happening. And he'd obviously decided to start taking my scent on that occasion, so needed to fix that one. Hey.
Yeah, it was a really interesting one to happen, especially it happened to me. But yeah, it was quite good. So making sure that they are actually taking scent from the scent article and not from the bag. And then also sometimes I've seen when I've been running sessions, I've seen dogs picking up the scent article. It's quite common. So again, thinking about the presentation of how you present it is quite important.
And I think with the picking up as well, it's often arousal states and stress states that can be frustrating.
And actually, that's what I was going to say. Actually, sorry, just to go back to Billy with him taking scent from the top of the bag. Actually, that setup from my setup, my personal setup with Billy starts the minute I go to get him out of the van. It doesn't start once we're out. It doesn't start after we've done an inventory or when he's taken when I've asked him to take scent. The setup for me, for him to really get his head in the game, is actually from taking him out of the van, and that's where my setup starts. And I think with arousal levels, I think bull breeds particularly can come out, and spaniels, they just want to come out and they'll grab it. So I find some breeds will be more predisposed.
You've got your grabbers and your shakers, you've got your holders, and you put a little bit of excitement or a little bit of stress on a dog, whether it's good or bad. You're more likely, a lot of the gun dogs are going to hold and pick up, particularly when you put a bit of pressure on them. You know, it's the same as when you come into the house and they're like so delighted to see you and they grab the nearest slipper or shoe. It's kind of that scenario, particularly if you've left the scent article on the ground. It's, you know, it's already a behavior they know. So you might want to vary the setup and how you present, but equally sometimes looking at why they're doing it and the motivation. Is it that they're kind of you know, you've annoyed them because you've not got going quick enough, or, you know, that they found it too difficult, the challenge is too hard. So sometimes looking at the emotional state of the dog and managing the setup, as Diane was saying, and managing that setup as you come in is the solution. Sometimes it's you've just got to break that cycle as well, because they've performed that behavior so many times, that they actually think that I grab it, shake it, drop it, and then we go off trailing. So sometimes,
and then that's reinforcing the behavior.
Yeah.
So yeah, so there's quite a lot to think. I think there's quite a lot to think about when we kind of put this article together, the webinar together about scent articles. Well, oh yeah, we'll struggle to fill it. And actually, when you start pulling it back, and you go, oh my God, this is actually a much bigger thing than most of us really even think about. Novel theme days, or using novel scent articles. I've had dogs that have been scared of scent articles. So again, I think that's, you've really got to be careful, especially if you're an instructor running sessions, or if you're going out on your own and you think you're going to bring some kooky, quirky scent article, then it's really important the scent from that, just to make sure that they're not going to be scared of it. I had on one trail that I did, I just want to talk about taking care about using edible scent articles. So things like apple cores, or banana skins, things like that. You might want to hold it rather than it just being with food. I try not to, if I can, I try not
It's Diane breaking up for anyone else.
I'll always try and hold it just in case, especially if I don't. Oh no.
Yeah, for me,
Am I back?
A little bit. You are, but I'm just going to say, if it keeps going, then I don't know if it's just me, but I'm just wondering if.
Oh, I'm breaking up badly. Why am I breaking up?
Turn your camera off, and that might just do it. Sorry, Diane. See you.
Yeah. No, that's all right.
And then at least we'll hear you.
It might be better.
Oh, it's gone. It's better now.
Oh, it might have been the door opened and the door closed, so that might be what it is. So I was saying about novel scent articles, some dogs might be scared of them. So just be mindful if you are having a fun or a theme day, or you're going to choose something that is slightly weird, then just be mindful that a dog might be scared of it. And also, it's not weird, but edible scent articles, things like an apple core. You can take the. I heard someone was taking it from a sprout. But if you're going to use
that at Christmas just for a laugh.
Yeah, it was you did it at Christmas. But if you're taking scent from an edible item,
Sally's asking, why would you take it from an edible one? Why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't you, really? If someone's just taken a bite out of an apple or is eating an apple, and again, we're going to talk about forgotten scent articles in a minute, is if you need to grab something quickly, and they've been halfway through an apple, and you want to use that as your scent article, then you're just going to have to be clever about how you present that. So I would always hold on to it with your plastic bag, your gloves. And I don't ever really put food on the floor, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I've done the biscuit, and then at the end of the trail, the dog gets the biscuit as well. So, win-win, really, as well as their normal reward. But, it's just, you can,
I mean, like we said, anything can be a scent article. Every contact leaves a trace. Anything can be a scent article. I also had a question that comes up, or it doesn't come up, but sometimes if people are using very light scent articles, sometimes the bag can blow away. So sticking your foot on it, on the outside of it, obviously not inside it. That can
not put it on the floor. Good solution.
Or not put it on the floor. Yeah. What else have we had? I'm trying to think.
We've done the picking up, haven't we? Forgotten scent articles. We were saying that like generally, one of the things I find when we've forgotten a scent article, there's normally, you can, if you're in a group situation, you're trailing, you can normally find something because their car's nearby, or you could do something. But what I do find is that in desperation to find a scent article and not to call the trail layer back and reset, Sometimes instructors or handlers might give a scent article that the dog's not quite ready for. They might choose an item that's a bit more difficult just because it's available. So just kind of consider your where you're at, and is that going to be appropriate? And are you going to, for some dogs they'll just bosh it anyway, but some other dogs, if you've had to build up their confidence and they're not the most confident of starters, giving them a challenge sometimes that you didn't intend to set is not always the best plan. So it's just a bit careful on those ones. Any others? Have we got any? Shall we? Any others?
Yeah, see if anyone's got any questions.
Yeah, let's do questions.
Did it make sense?
Shall I stop recording? And then we can have Q&A after. Or you want to record the Q&A?
Let's record the Q&A just in case any questions come up that are relevant.
Or we might get silence.
Oh, Hazel's put some recycled plastic bags can have a strong scent of their own. Yeah. And that's sometimes they become the scent article.
I've seen people use like biodegradable bags. Because the biodegradable bags are really quite rubbish as scent article bags, because by their nature of composition they really are quite porous and holy.
And they let stuff in and they let stuff out.
Yeah.
Are there any other? Oh, Sally, so why would you use an edible scent article? We've covered that. Has anybody got any other questions about anything relating to scent articles? Has anyone had like really weird random scent articles? What's like the weirdest one that people have had?
I've given people like in Halloween some really weird stuff. I did like a Hubble Bubble. What's the Macbeth thing? Is it?
Oh yeah.
So basically, it wasn't necessarily what it said. I didn't get an Eye of Newt and things like that, but I got something to be an Eye of Newt. And I told people it was like rat tails, and it wasn't rat tails at all. But when they put their hand in the box, they thought it might be a rat tail.
Oh.
7 penis at Halloween, lovely.
Oh,
Up the tree again. That was me. Yeah, tree hugging is. Oh, we used other bodies as well, haven't we? Actually.
And a banana skin from Diane.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Oh yeah, that was the last time I saw you. That was quite fun. I don't know. If anyone trails with me, I'm a terrible practical joker. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry to anyone that comes trailing with me.
We've had a gob full of milk.
Oh.
So like put it in your mouth, swish it round and gob it out into a glass that doesn't relate. So the glass was not relating to the trail layer. So it was literally the milk that was the trail layer. That was quite an interesting one.
How did it work? Was it good?
Yeah, it works. Yeah. To be honest, initially it's like if they've not done like a food product or something else, they go like, oh, you're giving me this, and then they're like, it's good food. But yeah, and then they have to get their right head in the game. Just everyone's saying I'm doing hugging things. Like, lots of hugging going on in my so that does work. And the other one I've done is like washing up bowl, like wash your hands in some water, and the water is the scent article, so that works as well. Are there any ways in which you can link poor performance in trails to the scent article? Yes. Yes, actually, in a really weird way, I think sometimes with some dogs, really porous, massive scent articles can really blow their brain. And I think particularly if they've got an age trail, I think the mismatch between the really strong scent of a person and the really old trail, they sometimes go, not with certain dogs, but with some dogs, they can struggle.
And do you find that in terms of volume, in terms of the bigger the scent article, or not?
No, I suppose it must be, but No, I've only seen it on like really fresh, really strong. And the other thing I see, the other one that I see is sometimes better performance. So there's some dogs that, you know, like they skirt over the scent article and they don't sniff it. And then you, instead of giving them a porous scent article, you give them a metal one. Like, so I quite often pull out a teaspoon and get someone to hold a teaspoon, that kind of size, and chuck that at them. And sometimes they sniff that a lot better and they actually start better. But I think
actually we did that with Billy, didn't we? We actually did transfer.
Yeah.
Onto a smaller, more, I think we did it onto a cork, you know, a wine stopper. I think we actually did the scent transfer onto that.
Did I have a wine stopper? Oh, it did have a wine stopper in my van. That's like,
yeah, we did that. That was quite.
Oh, of course I did. Of course I did. Yeah, so I think that's Simon, isn't it, that's saying correlation between the age of the article and the age of the trail. I think it's the strength of the age of the tail. So, like, you know, if you talk about pretty old trails that where the scent's dissipated quite a lot and burnt off or disappeared, and then you have quite a strong scent article, I think I've seen some dogs struggle to match that. Whereas if you give them a less strong scent article, they're off all of a sudden. And I can't explain it, but I haven't found research on that. That's just what I've seen. And it's not, I wouldn't say it's with enough dogs to call it a trend. I've just seen it once or twice. But it's an interesting observation. And I would really like to see some research on that. Because there is a natural assumption that the stronger the scent article and the more scent it contains, the better it is. Yeah, the better it is. Interesting. I've seen the strength thing with, yeah, so there are detection dogs. So if you look at detection work, so this is, you can see correlation in this in terms of detection work. So there is loads of research in detection work that there's, you can see some like explosive dogs that completely miss the explosive thing that's this big because they've never come across a scent picture of the same thing that they're trained on, but in that volume. And they don't even know it's there. What's his name?
It's the same with money as well, isn't it? Like dogs that are like, you know, £150,000 smells very different to £50,000.
Does it?
The volume of it, yeah.
I'd like to know that.
Speak to Doggett about it. Doggett's fascinating if you talk to him.
I just want to see that. I would like to have that so I could smell it and just try it. If you could make that happen for me and I could keep
Perfect, yeah.
That would be lovely.
Okay.
I think I am talking about scent thresholds, and I think sometimes the difference between the thresholds can make a difference, is what I'm suggesting.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen research on it because I do look for that kind of thing.
Who has £2 million in a suitcase? Doesn't what was that game show that Davina used to do? £1 Million Drop. We need to get the dogs out on that.
Do that with the dogs. Has anyone got any other questions before we completely go on random tangents?
Yeah. So, Jane did have £2 million in the suitcase. Yeah.
Is that the kind of thing you could kind of go, do we have to report it? Do we have to hand it in?
You don't like, well, you can tell us once we've finished recording, maybe.
Would that transfer over into cadaver dog training on tiny samples? But yeah, I think cadaver dogs is, I mean, I don't do cadaver dogs, but cadaver is really difficult, isn't it? Because you've got this
and bacterial load.
Picture changes so significantly, and so there are, I mean, the scent picture changes really significantly, and there is research. So like there's a really good paper on VOCs. So I've always said with my operational dogs, I wouldn't force them in on proximity if they didn't want to go in, because I think when the trail they're used to following a trail, but if the person's died at the end of the trail, they're not used to that. And, you know, within 8 hours, the VOCs that are being released from a live body to a dead body are significantly different. So I'd be quite happy to say they're over there somewhere. My dog is.
Yeah, I think we might try and get Lorna on board for this, because she does a brilliant presentation on cadaver and bacterial load and how that changes, and timeframes and timescales, which is quite fascinating, I think, for us. So yeah, I'll speak to Lorna and see if we can get her on board for something.
Yeah, that's cool.
Cool. Well, we hope you enjoyed the presentation. Thank you for giving up an hour of your evening. If you have liked it, then please tell your friends. You can give us a like and share on your social media, and you can push it everywhere. If you've got any questions after the recording, then feel free to pop them in the group. We will put the recording up there. And then if you put any questions in after we put the recording up, we'll jump on and we'll answer them. So we won't redo the presentation, but we're certainly here to answer any questions after we've put this up. But we hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
I will also stick the links to the research papers in somewhere, so that all the links, because I have them, but I was going to put them in the chat, but I just thought actually it'd be better I'll put them with the presentation or somewhere when we put the recording up.
Yeah, and if anyone wants to get hold of Joey, she's at JK9 Trailing, Mantrailing, jk9.co.uk, email info@jk9.co.uk. I'm Diane Kasparovich, company is Superhounds. I'm at superhounds.co.uk, or you can email me at Diane, DIANE1N, @superhounds.co.uk.
Fab. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much.
And good. We're all right. I will speak to you all later. Thanks, everyone.